codes, severity modifiers, documentation, and narratives. We know that that is definitely something that everybody is just questioning at this standpoint, struggling a little bit with what to write, and we do know that that is something that is mandatory on all of our documentation, not just choosing code, but also making sure that we have a narrative justification for that. So we are going to wait one more minute. I see a lot of people coming on the call. The call will be recorded, as well as if you have any questions at the end, please type them in. If we have time, we will answer them, and I will read down the questions. And if we do run out of time, I will have Barb and I answer the questions in an email format to everybody. And then everybody on this call, after the call, will be sent the PowerPoint presentation, which has a tremendous amount of information on it, narratives for both physical, occupational, and speech therapy services. So thank you so much for having your therapist on the call today. I know that you'll get a lot of information out of it. We will wait one more minute, and then I will start. We actually will start talking a little bit about documentation in general, kind of a state of the union on documentation, not necessarily for G-codes, but just medical necessity. I definitely, with all the audits that I'm doing for the company, I see just a couple things that need to be addressed, and since we have so many people on the call today, I thought this would be a great opportunity to do that. So with that, just be on hold for one more minute, and then we will get started. And I do appreciate you all getting on the call and seeing this as an important part of your Halloween day. So hold on one second, and we will start.
Are you going to be able to see this, Joyce? I wonder if we could make it bigger, or I want you to be able to see it,
Yeah,
too.
if I could remember my passcode, I could get into my iPod, and I can't remember my Apple passcode.
Here? Do you guys want to do this?
That's not Apple, that's Linux. I'm not downloading any apps for meeting on that.
Alyssa? Yes, I'm here.
That's your personal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Just checking my phone. All right, so let's talk real briefly. As you know, today we're talking about the codes and severity modifiers and the narratives, but we're going to start a little bit to talk about what is still important in documentation. Definitely, when I say here we are fighting against the Goliath so huge that even Hercules falls short. I really do mean that. As all of you know, I'm involved in a tremendous amount of audits across the United States, not just for our company, for various companies, and I serve as a lead auditor for a fairly large law firm, and so I see that there are issues at every place I go, pretty much the same one. Documentation, necessity seems to be number one on the list. RAC definitely can focus on that. We know that there are lots of audits going on. I'm sure even some of you on the call could attest to the fact that there are more and more audits coming in all of your facilities, and really, with all the audits that we do, I think across the entire company, seeing a little bit of a slip, actually, when it comes to focusing on the documentation of medical necessity in the evaluation and the progress notes. And it's just real important to, as rehab directors or therapists on the call, to continue focusing on that, making sure that your team is still focusing on the documentation of medical necessity. The RAC system is a Leviathan at this point. Rules, regulation, manpower. There's an unlimited well of resources for the government side at this standpoint, and I think all of us are feeling a little beat up. But more importantly, the best prevention for these denials is really good documentation. We know that as a compliance team, we've done a tremendous amount of trainings over the past couple of years. Your RVPs also, have done a tremendous amount of focus areas in that. It's just still so important to look at the documentation in your building, regardless of payer source. We know we have the manual Med-B review, but the same rules apply for Part A. You have your documentation of medical necessity. Have that in red because it's still the number one reason why charts are denied across the United States. Documentation of the need for services, explaining what services that therapy would provide that somebody else is unable to, and of course, supporting documentation with nursing or physicians, and that's really important. Making sure that you're looking at all of these areas is a big focus area. And I know that Barb's going to be talking a lot on the G-codes. And, the G-codes and the narratives for the G-codes is just kind of an octopus arm of the bigger picture, which is just this focus on documentation that's not going away. Everybody needs to be looking. You need to be doing some kind of interdisciplinary audits in your buildings, looking at charts as rehab directors once in a while, asking your physical therapist, your speech, and your OTs to also look at that. And just know that there's just such a focus area. and making sure that you just have to remind yourself that is going to be on everybody's lips again, and making sure that we don't fall short. You know, the Part B, with the manual Med B review, I do all the audits, as you know. My team does a tremendous amount across the company. I do them, Barb does them, Sherry does them. We definitely see lately, and have had discussions that a couple months ago we used to see a little bit better documentation when it came to the progress notes, and want to make sure that everybody really focuses on that. When you're writing your progress notes, integrating the information, making sure that there's justifiable services and that you're integrating it into the plan has to be a priority. You know, remember, they're not even auditing charts 3 years from now. The charts that you write now could be audited in 2 months from now. So make it a focus area, protect your patients, protect the facilities you're in, documentation integrity. You know, all of us from a licensure standpoint need to make sure that we protect our patients, and that's really important. Number 2 on that list is the nurse's notes that need to support therapy documentation.